Hi everyone. So last week I asked you to look into what the Wiccan religion is. So first of all, let me start by saying that Wicca and witchcraft and the craft are all interchangeable. They all mean the same thing. So when somebody says they're Wiccan, they're telling you they are a witch, okay, in the true form of the word. All right, so that's the first thing that I wanted to point out. So the next thing about the religion that's quite important to know is that it is a nature-based religion with a duality of deity. So in witchcraft, there are the god, or I should say, there is the goddess and the god. So you've got two deities. Normally, the goddess is the main deity, which is where it differentiates from most patriarchal religions, because we have the female deity. In some pagan based, which is where the difference comes a lot of the time, they can have the male deity as the main. But normally for witches, our female deity is our main deity. We believe that there's a goddess and a god, and they work together. The goddess is assisted by the god to create and to maintain that creation. Um, he is her, how would you put it? Her consort, her helper, but she is the main deity. We can have many other deities that we worship along with this, but they are the creators, the main creators, the source of all. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. It's annoying me. I'm going to have to just move it a minute. There we go. So we acknowledge and worship the goddess, and that's what sets witchcraft apart from other Orthodox religions, is the female deity as our main deity. Like I say, in some pagans they can have the male. Now I'm trying to think. I mean, female deity worshipping of the main goddess figure goes way back to the Stone Age times. In the Stone Age, in the archaeological discoveries, there were 60 deity figurines found. Only 5 of them were male, and they were all smaller than all the female deities. So that means that 55 of them were larger female deities. Now, those were detailed, whereas the male ones weren't quite as detailed, showing that especially in those times, that the female deity was the major deity, the one that was worshipped the most. Now, obviously, as it gone through time, things have changed. The religion has developed. We know more about nature now, but none of that takes away from the wheel of the year that we live by. Now, it's not just witchcraft isn't just like some faiths where you can go to a place of worship for one day a week, and you don't think about it the rest of the time. With witchcraft, every day, every step in that day is taken through this path. It's a way of thinking, and it's a way of living your life. You're not just going through the motions. You actually live your life by this. And magic, although it is in part of that, it's not the main part of it. It's just an addition to the way that we live our lives. We look after plants, we make sure we follow the planting cycles, the seasons of the moon, the seasons of the year, from winter to spring to summer, and our religion and our belief system of the deities as the main deities follow that course. So you've got the goddess wakening up in spring. You've got the goddess and God getting together at Beltane. So you've got all the way through our actual sabbats, which I'll go into a little bit later. You've got that. Now, if you can follow that belief, I mean, unfortunately, Christianity believes that there is only one God. So if you're looking for performing magic with Christianity, then you would need to go into, now what's it called again? Oh my goodness, it's going to clean out my head. Ceremonial magic, yes. And that way you can perform magic in different ways, but it would not be on the Wiccan path. The other thing that I asked you to look into was the Wiccan Rede. Now, I found a poem about the Wiccan Rede that I wanted to read to you, and then we can go through that in more detail. So this was, it's a, in the, now was it the 70s? In the 70s, there were a group of witches who were from a long line of covens. So they were from heretical magic. So they came from all over the place and they all got together in America and they tried to create a path for all witches to follow. So what they did was they took the belief systems from all the others and they saw where the similarities were within all the different covens, and they made that into the basis for the path. Now, some people will say, well, that was just created in the 70s and blah, blah, blah. But no, it wasn't. It was just brought out in the 70s because it was the similarities from all the different covens put together that they could all agree that they all worked with this. No matter what their magic was, this was the area of witchcraft that they all agreed to adhere to. So they were all already adhering to that. Now, yes, this can change in different areas like Africa and things like that. But normally, even if you go back there, the only people who will perform magic that affects other people negatively, intentionally, are dark witches. Do you know what I mean? They come from a dark path. So they might be the medicine man, but the people know to watch out for those medicine men because they have, like, they're wanting to put nails into a hunk of wood next to you. I'd be very careful they're not taking your speech, and your free will. We don't do that. So here's the read poem anyway. Okay, it says, bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Live you must and let to live, fairly take and fairly give. For tread the circle thrice about to keep unwelcome spirits out. To bind this spell, well, every time, let this spell be said in rhyme. Light of eye and soft of touch, speak you little and listen much. Honour the old ones in deed and name, let love and light be our guides again. Docile by the waxing moon, chant out the joyful tune. Whither shin go when the moon doth wane, and the werewolf house by dread's wolf bane. When the lady's moon is new, kiss the hand to her times two. When the moon rides at her peak, then your heart's desires do seek. Heed the north wind's mighty gale, lock the door and trim the sail. When the wind blows from the east, expect the new and set the feast. When the wind comes from the south, love will kiss you on the mouth. When the wind whispers from the west, all hearts will find peace and rest. 9 woods in the cauldron go, burn them fast and burn them slow. Birch in the fire goes to resent the lady's nose. Oak in the forest towers with might. In the fire it brings the gods in sight. Rowan is a tree of power, causing life and magic to flower. Willow at the water's side stands ready to help us to the summerland. Hawthorn is burned to purify and draw fairy to your eye. Hazel, the tree of wisdom and learning, adds its strength to this fire burning. White are the flowers of the apple tree that bring us fruit of fertility. Grapes grow upon the vine, giving us both joy and wine. Third does mark the evergreen to represent immortality seen. Elder is the lady's tree, burnt not to curse you'll be. 4 times the major sabbats mark in the light and in the dark. As the old year starts to wane, the new begins. It's now Semaine. When the time for Imbolc shows, watch the flowers through the snows. When the wheel begins to turn, soon Beltane's fires will burn. As the wheel turns to Lammas, night power is brought to magic right. 4 times the minor sabbats fall us, the sun to mark them all. When the wheel has turned to Yule, like the log the horned ones rule. In the spring, when night equals day, time for Astara to come our way. When the sun has reached its height, time for oak and holly to fight. Harvesting comes to one and all when the autumn equinox does fall. Heed the flower, bush and tree, by the lady blessed you'll be. Where the grippling waters go cast a stone, the truth you'll know. When you have and hold a need, hearken not to others' greed. With the fool no seasons spend, or be counted as his friend. Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. Mind the threefold law, you should 3 times bad and 3 times good. When misfortune is enow, wear the start upon your brow. Be true in love, this you must do, unless your love is false to you. These 8 words the rede fulfill, and harm ye none, do what ye will. So this is a beautiful sort of poem of the rede that once you learn it, it gives you so much knowledge as well. So even if you have to rewind this and listen back to that a few times, I would do, because it's wonderful. I can't say who wrote it because it was written by fairies and pixies. So I'm not sure who the author of it was, but it's absolutely stunning because it tells you everything you need to know about our laws. So it goes through our sabbats, it goes through the woods we use and why we use them, it goes through the winds, it goes through everything really. So all the belief systems. So I would learn that if I were you. You might not be able to learn it off by heart. Even I can't do that, but then my strokes make my memory shite. So excuse me, I probably shouldn't swear like that, but I am Scottish. Okay, so learn that, all right, and then that's your homework for next week, to learn the rede. And then what I'm going to do is we could go through the history of Wicca if you wish, but I really don't think we need to. I think after that we'll go through terms used frequently in Wicca, so you understand a lot of what will be said. Plus a lot of what things that are said, and spells that you'll get and rituals that you'll get before you make your own, all this sort of stuff. I mean, obviously later on we'll tell you how to make your own rituals, and we'll tell you how to set up your altars and everything like that, and why we set up our altars and where we set up our altars and who they're to, what it represents. We'll go through all that as well. But start from the basics and let's go from there. Okay, so learn the read. That's homework for this week. I'm sorry, I was a couple of days late off the moon from this week. So next week it will be the same time as your moon ceremonies will be. Later on, we'll go through what you celebrate in between the full moon and the new moon and how you work it out. And we'll go through what days are best for spells and stuff later on as well. That's all well into it. Like I say, you've got to learn to walk before you can run. Now, the answer to the first week's question, when I said, write down why do you want to be a witch? Now, the answer you're actually looking for is that because you are one, and you want to be a better one. That's why anybody does the training. That's why everybody who's a witch does the training, because we want to become better. Now, there are several forms of training. You've got Gardenian, although he's a bit much into the nakedness for me personally, but there is that option there. There's so many other types of, you can go through Celtic training, you can go through, you can go through Germanic training, you can go through American training, all of them, but they should all include everything I'm going to give you. This will teach us how to improve your psychic powers, how to tell what powers are your best ones, and everything else as well. But research what type you want. I mean, I'm a bit of a mishmash because I was born a witch. I was born into a witch's family. So I have hereditary magic and knowing and references that I go to. But then I was trained by somebody from the islands when I was a teenager because she recognised I was a witch and she wanted me to go through that training as well. So I've done that, and then I've also done a bit of Celtic, but then I've also done Hecatian because obviously I follow my patron goddess Hecate, but that also intermixes a little bit with Diane and Artemis and Isis. They can all intermix a lot. Personally, I think most of them are all the one goddess, but that's not part of the training. So, but we'll go through all the different pantheons that you could go through as well before we get into the formalised training. So I think that's it for this week. So that's the read. I'm just making these short because if I make them any longer, I think people are going to lose interest very quickly. So the max I'm trying to do, I'm aiming for about 20 minutes at the moment. And then once we get more into it and we'll get into actually doing rituals and ceremonies and spells later on and how to claim your ritual tools and what you need and things like that, then it'll get a little bit longer. But hopefully by that time you'll start to understand a bit more and your foundations will be a bit stronger. I mean, obviously when it comes time to do the tarot and the runes and that takes a lot longer. So it'll take us a while to get into that. But hopefully you've enjoyed the read and you understand that. Well, you probably don't because I've not said to you, but when it says do what thou wilt but harm none, think of what that actually means. Because doing what you want to do is great and it's something that we can all do, but doing it without harming somebody else, don't affect somebody else by it, that's a very hard thing to do. So it's probably well worth looking into and taking a thought about that. So that's do we need to cast? Am I harming anybody by casting this spell? Things like that will come into your thought processes later on. The rituals and that never do any harm to anybody else. And living our life according to nature never does any harm to anybody else. And that doesn't mean to say that we don't cast spells, because trust me, I cast quite a few. But it's the spells that we do cast and what they're for. Are they specific where it turns into greed and then it turns into dark magic? Or is it open-ended where you're letting your deities decide specifics for you? And we'll get more into that. Okay, so lots to think about this week. So go away, think about it all, but really study the reed because it tells you what types of wood you use, what when you're using the elements of the north, when it goes into the winds. What to expect with your fortune telling from the winds. So which way are the clouds going? What's that going to bring to us? And then also what are the elements from that you're using? So you can sort of judge from that where the elements are going, and what elementals were going to be there. We'll go into that a bit more next week, I think. We'll go into the elements on the sides and in the directions and things like that. I love that part. It's one of my favourites. But yeah, so we'll get more into it next week. Start to get a little bit more deeper into it from here on in. And the reason that I don't do it for you is because this is your course. This is for you to learn. It's for you to interpret as you need. Okay, it's just to give you a better foundation. So that's all from me, and all I can say is blessed be and have a lovely week.